Hi, all. Now let's learn about the blood. Okay. So what do we mean by blood? Basically, it is a fluid connective tissue, right? And it circulates through the blood vessels. Okay. And it also performs the vital functions like transport, protection, regulation, etc. So now we are going to learn more about the blood and what are the things in the blood, what are the blood cells, all these things. So we will start with the composition of blood. So basically, there are different compounds in the blood, right? The blood is not a single thing. So let's see what are they. So we have the plasma. In the blood, around 50 to 55% is plasma. So plasma, what is plasma? It is a liquid part of the blood, right? So it is basically the liquid part of the blood. And now let's see what are the components of plasma. So for plasma, 90 to 92 percentage are water. Okay, so the main solvent and it will help in the transport of substances, right? So it will help the movement of blood easily. And then we have the proteins. That is around 6 to 8%. So we have different proteins, right? What are they? We have albumin that is maintain the osmotic pressure. And then we have globulin. It will boost the immunity. It is working with the immunity. And then fibrinogen, that is blood clotting, right? So these are the proteins in the blood, and that is it in the plasma. And what are the other substances of plasma? It consists of around 1 to 2 percentage that are hormones. So we have already learned, like in the previous classes and in smaller classes, etc. You might have learned that all the hormones are mostly transported through the blood, right? So hormones are also a part of. So it is in the plasma. And then there will be waste product like urea, carbon dioxide, etc. Nutrients like the glucose, amino acids, salt, ions, etc. So while we mentioned about the absorption, we have mentioned that all the nutrients, salts, everything will be get absorbed into the blood. So definitely all these particles will be there in the blood. Great. So now let's check the functions of plasma. What is the duty of plasma? Basically, it transports nutrients, hormones, and waste. Okay, so it performs some important functions, right? So first thing, it transports the nutrients. So whenever the nutrients get absorbed into the blood, it is transported with the help of plasma. Then the hormones, like in a human body or in any animal body, there will be different hormones working, right? So all these hormones are transported with the help of plasma and the waste management. Okay, and also it maintains blood pressure and the volume. So we have a fixed volume of blood, right? Around 6 liters for an adult for human beings. So it maintains the volume and the blood pressure. Okay, our BP. So that is also maintained by the plasma membrane. Okay. And also it helps in maintaining the temperature. Okay. So we have a body temperature, right? So that is also maintained by the help of plasma. Now, let's check the cellular component. So, first component was plasma. Then we have the cellular components. That is what we mentioned as blood cells. So, we have RBC, that is red blood cell, WBC, white blood cell, and the platelets. So, let's check what are. So, the first thing is RBC, that is our red blood cells, right? So, what is RBC? How can you identify RBC? So it is a biconcave disc shape. So from the figure itself, it is very clear, right? It is a biconcave disc shaped structure. And it doesn't have any nucleus in humans. Okay. And it contains a hemoglobin. Okay. So it contains hemoglobin. So this hemoglobin will help with the oxygen transfer. Okay. So what is the function of RBC? Transport of oxygen with the help of the pigment called the hemoglobin from legs to tissues. Okay. And transport of carbon dioxide back to lungs. So these are the functions of RBC. And each RBC will have a lifespan of 120 days. And where does it form? It is formed in the bone marrow. And if you don't have enough RBC, what will happen? You will have anemia. Okay. So if you are anemic, the reason is that you don't have enough RBC cells. Okay. So that is RBC. Now we have the WBC, that is the white blood cells, right? So it have a nucleus. So how can you differentiate if you don't know the colors, etc.? How can you differentiate between RBC, platelets, and the WBC? WBC have nucleus, so you can see that very clearly here, right? All have a nucleus, and it doesn't have a proper shape also. It is irregular in shape. Okay. So the shape is irregular and very fewer in number than RBC. So WBC, the count will be comparatively small. Okay. And what are their function? They will protect our body from infections and diseases. So, WBC are the protectors, right? So, whenever any sort of antibodies or any germs enter in your body, the WBC will take action. Okay, they will fight against it and they will protect your body from any sort of harmful germs. That is how we prevent most of the diseases. Okay. And as you can see here, we have five types of WBCs here, right? So let's see what are their function. So we can divide RBC into two groups. First is granulocytes with the granules. And the second one is agranulocytes that is without granules. Okay. So first let's check the granulocytes. So in that we have three WBCs, that is neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. What are the three? Neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. So what are the functions of neutrophils? They are the first line of defense. So you might have seen any war influenced, or you might have played chess. So you can see a protective army layer, there, right? The neutrophils work just like that. So they are the first line of defense. So they will engulf the bacteria. Okay. So whenever any bacteria enters into our body, they will just engulf the bacteria. And then comes the eosinophil. What is eosinophil's duty? They will fight parasites. Okay. So we have mentioned about a lot of parasites, including like tapeworm, etc. Right. So eosinophils will fight against the parasites. So it is involved in allergies. Okay. And what about basophil? They release histamine. Okay. So it will solve the issues of inflammation, allergic reactions, etc. Okay. So these are the functions of granulocytes. That are neutrophils, eosinophils, and the basophils. Okay. Then we have the agranulocytes. That are the one without granules, right? So we have two in that, monocytes and the lymphocytes. So what is monocytes? These are the largest WBC cells. Okay. And they will also engulf the pathogens. And what about lymphocytes? They will produce antibodies and they have a key role in immunity. So lymphocytes are also very important. Here. So this is what we have seen here, right? So basophil, neutrophil, eosinophil, monocyte, and the lymphocytes. Okay. Then comes the next part, that are the platelets. Platelets, platelets are also called as thrombocytes. Okay. Thrombocytes. So what is the structure? You can very easily identify them, right? It's very small in size. It's a disc-shaped cell fragment, right? It's a disc-shaped cell fragment and it doesn't have any sort of nucleus. Okay, so it's white in color. So what is the function? Helps in blood clotting and also prevent excessive blood loss. Okay, so basically it won't let the blood clot inside your bone. Okay, and also it will prevent excessive blood loss when you have any sort of like wounds, cuts, etc. And it releases a clotting factor and it forms platelet plug at the injury size. That is how the loss of blood is stopped. Okay, that is how we stop the blood loss. Here, so that are the major use of platelets. And whenever you have the disease like dengue, it will directly reduce the counts of platelets. Okay, so when the platelet count decreases more than a particular limit, more than the needed limit, you can even see like the blood will be coming out of each and every small pores in your body, like the hair pores, etc. Okay, so platelets are very important. Now, let's see how the blood is formed. Okay, so we have already mentioned that for the RBC and all, like its life cycle is very small, right? Around 120 days. Some will have less than that. So basically, they don't have much life cycle, right? The lifespan is very short. So let's see how they are produced inside our bone, how they get produced. So for most of the blood cells are formed from the bone marrow, okay, and derived from hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, we have the stem cells. So they produce RBCs, WBCs, and the platelets. Okay, and what are the functions of blood? What are the functions? They, as we know, they basically transport, they will provide the protection, and also they will do the regulation. Right. So oxygen, what are the components they transport? Oxygen, nutrients, and the hormones. And they will also transport the waste products like the carbon dioxide and the urine. Okay. Please don't connect waste products with the excretion. Okay, that is different. And how they provide protection? The WBCs in the blood, right? They will fight against all sort of infections, pathogens, and the germs. And what about platelets? They will prevent blood loss, right? And how do they help in regulation? They will maintain the body temperature. They will help to maintain the pH balance and also maintains the fluid. This is why proper blood count is very essential for our life. Whenever you are getting to an accident or through any sort of thing, whenever you lose a lot of blood, it might even lead to death. Okay. So blood is a very important